Lingering injuries suck. Playing through Tomb of Annihilation. My DM just found I was attacked by kobolds during the night after a long day of fighting in the mountains trying to clear out a colony of them. I will make a follow-up post to ask more questions and to ask for help from everyone in this community and others. Was down it and down to doing death saves. The other 4 party members fled the scene with the exception of the wizard who had levitated up into a tree to hide and observed the following scene. I didn't want to kill off the character and decided to let the character have all his saves regardless of what was going on. And he passed and got up surrounded by kobolds. He then fought them one by one being felled time and time again, killing off 4 of the 10 remaining, until he finally failed his death saves. With his fresh corpse on the ground, the kobolds left alive ate the body, breaking the bones in their teeth and crunching his cartilage into dust. Now it was at this point I noticed a very disturbing sound. It sounded exactly as I described, a crunching, tearing, chomping sound. Unknown to me, my wife had given my 2 Dachshunds terriers some pig ears a couple minutes before, and they snuck under the table to eat them while the fight was going on. So the death scene came with full gory sound effects. Oops. DM doesn't support PvP but only selectively. I was reading a post and it reminded me of another terrible game. This was in my 3.x days. It was a faceta-face game. Remember those? At a friend's house. I had chosen to play a half-orc sorcerer who was also devoutly religious to Oladamara, god of mischief Ike. Another player, upon learning of my choice, rolled up a cleric, specifically also of Oladamara. I didn't think anything of this at the time. Then the campaign starts. This cleric keeps passing notes to the DM who reads them, smiles and or chuckles. Then the game goes on. Minutes later, I'm having an interaction, trying to persuade or intimidate, usually when I'm suddenly seized by terror, or I start speaking gibberish, or I piss myself, etc. Turns out Mr. Cleric is using his god-given powers to make me look like a fool. At first I'm completely confused, but I'm able to use some rolls to figure out who's doing this to me. I mostly try to ignore this and move on. That is, until the cleric casts magical terror on me in combat, causing me to run headlong into a group of bugbears and almost die. At this point, I'm so completely done. I pass a note to the DM. Prepared action. The next time the cleric opens his mouth, I cast Fireball with his position as ground zero. The DM frowns and immediately reveals my note. He says I don't allow PvP at my table. Me, with the most fed up expression on my face. So what do you call what he's doing to me? That last spell almost got me killed. DM. That's just harmless fun, in line with how his character would act. Even if you died, he would have brought you back. Me. Well, I have a scroll of revive in my pack. If this kills him, I'll bring him back. I cast Fireball on him. DM. You can't. I won't allow it. Me. Then I cast Dimension Door. DM. You don't know that spell. Me. Oh but I do. This here I gesture to his house. Is your dimension. And right there I gesture to his front door. Is the door. I stormed over to it, yanked it open, screamed "GOF yourselves," and slammed it behind me. Haven't spoken to any of them since. DM is sick of your shit. So I ended up inheriting a table I was playing at as a PC, since the DM left for reasons. Honestly they just ghosted, so who knows why. Anyways, we had one player, that was that guy. Always tried to derail the campaign. Metagamed. Murder hobo. Asking me to do PvP stuff, just because they knew it bothered other PCs. They literally said I'm gonna do the thing after the table tried to talk them out of it. I was the odd one out at the table as most of the PCs were friends Zyril. So the table put up with Mr. Derail. Point of order is that I was very new to adming, so the last thing I needed was the player intentionally making things difficult for me. For no reason out of the blue, Mischief Maker decided they wanted to set fire to the grain house of a friendly village, for no discernible reason. I can only assume to be a dick. I had some NPCs roll perception checks and thankfully they noticed quickly enough that they spotted the arson mid-act. The PC was I think an Arakakra, so they had a flight speed, but eventually a dozen horse riders were chasing annoying PC out of town firing arrows at them. I fly higher. Oh it's super windy, make a SDR save. Fail. Yo movement speed is reduced for a round. I try to land high in a tree. The villagers shoot at you and then roll initiative. Finally I got a "Are you trying to kill my character?" To which I got to explain all the heinous shit they had done and how this had drawn the ire of the townsfolk who saw them as saviors. And then that person broke the spine of my PHB when I let them roll a new character. / Please, don't do this to your friends. I thought I was tapped out ta stories, but a recent incident happened I'd like to share as more of a sad than anything. So, I've been chatting with a friend, we'll call him Chuck, about being a Starfinder game. Chuck was excited about it, and so was I. I told Chuck I still needed to find players still and really nail down a good schedule for me to actually DM it, so the campaign wouldn't really kick off for a while. Later, me and Chuck are in a Discord server with about 10 other people in a tabletop server we hang out in. It was at this moment Chuck decided to announce that I was going to be doing a Starfinder game and needed players. Being a tabletop server, naturally almost everyone was on board and started asking questions about the campaign. Since it's been less than a day, I hadn't even thought of a story yet and didn't have anything to tell them. I simply just told them I'm working through some scheduling issues and will get back with them if and when I decide to do it. Crisis averted, or so I thought. The following morning, Chuck pesters me asking when I'm going to be doing the Starfinder game. I told him the same thing I told the other people who asked and went about my day. Later that night I get a Discord link from him inviting me into another server. This isn't uncommon. He sends me servers to check out all the time. So I accept it. Turns out it's a server of about 12 people who he said were interested in joining the Starfinder campaign you were going to DM. It didn't take him long to promote me to owner of the server and I could already see everyone had been brainstorming character ideas and schedules. When I messaged him in DMs about it and told him I still didn't have a time, nor did I want to host a game with a party larger than 5, he simply said, "I'm sorry, my bad. Well, you can just kick anyone you don't want in the campaign from the server." I hope I'm not overreacting by saying I'm pissed. I just told everyone in the server that I'm sorry to get their hopes up, but I'm not hosting the Starfinder game anytime soon. The server is deleted, and Chuck has pretty much been apologizing in my DMs for a few hours now. This all just turned into one big mess over something that isn't even in motion yet. I'm not even sure I want to invite him to the game when it actually does happen now. TLDR, I tell a friend about a Starfinder game I plan on hosting. He immediately starts recruiting players for my campaign and creates a Discord server on my behalf before I'm able to plan anything. He gives me ownership of the server and I shut it down. You're playing a what, cleric? My last post was decidedly and accidentally on my part not something that belongs on this sub, and for that I humbly stop lurking and offer a story from my edgy high school days over 10 years ago just with my first group. RDM was not great emo and would jump from game to game and setting idea to setting idea so much campaigns would often last no more than a month-ish and we would accomplish very little before he would run out of ideas and we would make new characters and jump to the next whatever he was torrenting at the time. For my part in this story I was an annoying and terrible teen who fought on absolutely everything and was fully deserving of problem player, but this is not about that. Our group at the time rolled up to this totally cool new world of RGM with a pretty stand assortment of LGCN murder hobos of various niche classes. The last person to introduce their character is also the person whose house we always play at. He is introduced as being waist deep in a shrub and is, as we find out swiftly, carnally introducing himself to a very unconscious woman. I was a bit taken aback as this guy introduces his rape cleric with a smile like this is the funniest thing he has ever heard of as RDM, and our paladin laugh raucously. He goes on to explain that he worships some obscure abomination goddess and that he shows this devotion by traveling the world and raping people. I can tell a few people around the table are looking as uncomfortable as I am, but I swallow my objections as the DM pushes into the next scene. I'm hoping that this is like most stupid character choices and is never going to be brought up again. But he insisted on making it a constant thing that he brought up repeatedly every time he could. The campaign thankfully only lasted a few weeks like most, but it was a painful few weeks as each time he shoehorned in his worship it was met by the moronic laughter of RDM and his stooge. Edit 4 paragraphs I totally forgot and was reminded. Make things actually readable. Flabbergasted. A campaign of 1 year might die due to an outburst. Playing a homebrew world with internet buds met on Reddit. Let me be honest, it's my first ever long-term campaign and I feel like I hit a gold mine of amazing players and a DM who has prepared so much and is dedicated to the craft. We recently entered a dead ancient city which was borrowed from the module Icewind Dale, city of Ithrin, but it was heavily modified to fit our current lore. So far it's been amazing. It's really a scary situation as there is now a flying fallen god king, that is CR 20 something, and our troop of level 12 characters are running about trying to collect things to open up the central portal to godhood. Come to yesterday, where one of the players at the beginning of the session has simply stated I hate this place. We bang our heads against the wall for hours. It's not fun. I can't do this, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but the word hate was used, and it felt shocking and vehemently used. We have been kinda struggling being stealthy against the thing in the sky, but it's made for some awesome skin of your teeth moments, where my character gets away usually eating a lot of damage, before escaping in the sewers by willed shaping. Larksidon Druid is super fun. We sat there, the other player and I, along with the DM and just waited for some elaboration. There was nothing. No way to improve it, no suggestions of any sort. Now some important things I had to think about was, maybe it was an episode of some sort? Do we just wait it out? Was this player asking for help or seeking attention? The DM, myself and the other player felt shocked and completely drained of the want and will to play. It's been a culmination of a year of amazing stories and this ascension will lead to the campaign finale, but now we don't know if it will continue. I was hoping anyone out there that has gone through something similar and had some suggestions, ideas. If you need more details let me know. Made a character cry by accident when his character died. So the party I was ming for was attacked by kobolds during the night after a long day of fighting in the mountains trying to clear out a colony of them. I will make a follow-up post to ask more questions and to ask for help from everyone in this community and others. Was down to doing death saves. Note, I have a house rule to give everyone a number, and I roll, for example player 1 will be 1 and player 2 will be 2, and I roll a 1d2. If I roll a 1 the enemy attacks player 1. So I told everyone their numbers and rolled the dice for everyone to see, and I said to my friend you are 4. I rolled a 4 and he was playing a LVL2 wizard. I made the enemy hard because there was 6 people, so he instantly dies. He had 18 heal, the mimic did 19, and he failed all of his death saving throws. So he spent all that time just to get killed immediately. TLDR, player spends 3 days making a kingdom and story for character. Made a character cry by accident when his character died. So the party I was ming for was attacked by kobolds during the night after a long day of fighting in the mountains trying to clear out a colony of them. I will make a follow-up post to ask more questions and to ask for help from everyone in this community and others. Was down to doing death saves. What's in a name? A villain by any other name would smell as foul. This is really minor horror, all told. Noon was hurt, Noon left the game, and if you're going to accidentally name a character what he did, well, could definitely be a worse choice of character. So, playing a game with a long-time friend and fellow player, now first time DM, and it's fun. Germanic setting, lots of weird corruption around, we need fight. Yesterday's session, an NPC begins narrating a disturbing backstory of a god so corrupt, the Chaos Worm, that even hearing his true name caused madness, and hence it was impossible to write or say his name by act of the other gods. But some inscriptions from before the ban remain, and cults worship him. One such cultist was burned, full of corrupted worms. But a crow ate his eyeball and mutated, and it's believed this man, Heinrich Himmler. Turns out that he was putting names together, and didn't realize that was also the name of Icknow, a literal Nazi. But, hey, at least it's a villain, right? Made a character cry by accident when his character died. So the party I was ming for was attacked by kobolds during the night after a long day of fighting in the mountains trying to clear out a colony of them. This was a planned ambush and I have them a short rest out of it instead of a long rest. During the fight the ranger was down to doing death saves. The other 4 party members fled the scene with the exception of the wizard who had levitated up into a tree to hide and observed the following scene. I didn't want to kill off the character and decided to let the character have all his saves regardless of what was going on. And he passed and got up surrounded by kobolds. He then fought them one by one being felled time and time again, killing off 4 of the 10 remaining until he finally failed his death saves. With his fresh corpse on the ground the kobolds left alive ate the body breaking the bones in their teeth and crunching his cartilage into dust. Now it was at this point I noticed a very disturbing sound. It sounded exactly as I described, a crunching tearing chomping sound. Unknown to me, my wife had given my 2 Dachshund terriers some pig ears a couple minutes before and they snuck under the table to eat them while the fight was going on. So the death scene came with full gory sound effects. Oops.